There is a lot that can be said about the misguided paradigm we create, which we call knowing. We spend our formative years being taught things, shown things, and convinced of things, which we are expected, at some point, to know. The less than satisfactory response to any given question or problem is, "I don't know." There is a stigma around this phrase, which authorities such as law enforcement, classroom teachers, and parents proliferate. "Why don't you know? That's no kind of answer." "Well, you'd better figure it out, and in a hurry." These are typical responses to the nonplussed, to one who asserts his ignorance. It is not considered a desirable or attractive trait. From the earliest of ages we are expected to know. It is a fundamental construct of every relationship we entertain. As babes, our parents are frustrated by not knowing why we are crying, what we want, and why we won't stop. This not knowing on the part of our caretakers is not on us, but it causes frustration for which we are responsible, and for which we are held accountable. We are expected to get past this infantile stage as quickly as possible. As tots, over the course of time, we are expected to know who family members are, to pay them their due respect, to learn to crawl and stand and walk, to learn to speak, then when and where not to learn our letters and numbers, to read and write, to know for the purpose of being autonomous and self-sufficient. This is the expectation of us from the moment we are old enough to process stimulus, and it is the paradigm we grow to accept as the norm, as the way things are, and the way things should be. And we continue this mindset for the remainder of our lives, barring some epiphany which rattles our perspective in a way which causes us to start asking deep, existential questions. And not many of us have these kinds of moments, at least not all that often, and not to the extent that motivates us to exit the train of societal constructs, check our ticket, and reevaluate our travel plans. One way to know that you are still a part of this Gnostic paradigm, that which was forced on you before you could walk or talk, is if you are wondering at this moment, what is wrong with knowing something? I thought that was the point, the objective of our time here on Earth, to gain knowledge for the purpose of achieving credentials, earning an income, building a life, and supporting a family, for the purpose of holding intelligent conversations and having informed opinions. What other scenario could there possibly be? Are you saying that we should strive to know nothing? And if that is so, then how does that work in enhancing my situation? Doesn't that make me a non-productive citizen, an incompetent who sits around bilking off others, never making anything of themselves? A burden to society? And, from a utilitarian perspective, that of one's filling a functional role, contributing to society, and securing a means of providing for oneself and one's loved ones, the answer to all of these questions is, there is absolutely nothing wrong with knowing things, earning credentials to generate an income and build a life to support a family, holding intelligent conversations and having an informed opinion. In a utilitarian way, knowledge is necessary, critical to our service to self, others, and the planet. The problem of knowing is not a question of utilitarian functionality. It is in recognizing the limits of knowledge, that, while it serves a function, it is constrained, insufficient, and incomplete. Knowledge is not truth. Knowledge is the collection of facts, data, and information which allows us to intuit truth, not the other way around. An example of the difference between knowledge and truth is easily and readily observed in every interaction you ever have with any other person you have ever met, engaged, and conversed with. Anything anyone ever tells you is knowledge, information which they present from a perspective, and often with an agenda, whether they are aware of that agenda themselves or no. That knowledge is independent from truth. It may or may not be true, factual, objective, or reasonable. Your subconscious actively monitors this prescribed knowledge, filtering the information offered for its likelihood and credibility, reconciling it with the knowledge you have acquired over your lifetime, a lifetime of learning, experience, and deduction. From this knowledge, that which is offered by others and that which one deduces for themselves, a paradigm is formed, evolving over time in the continuous process of standing in the face of contrasting paradigms. Knowledge is a statement. Intuition is a question. Knowledge tells you something. Intuition fills in the gaps, constructs a likely scenario, and sorts out possible solutions. Knowledge is the collection of bricks, mortar, and lumber used to build the house. Intuition is the wisdom the builder brings to these materials, designing and framing, creating structural integrity, and making the home not only functional but aesthetic. This distinction is well known in law enforcement work, including crime detection, witness testimony, and crime scene investigation, as well as many other fields where the facts may not tell the whole story, such as social work, scientific inquiry, and medicine, to name a few. We have shown that knowing has a place in utilitarian society, that it provides us with a means for going along and getting along, much the same way that science uncovers utilitarian facts about the forces of nature, which can then be used to serve mankind for various purposes in various ways. But science can only extract function from these forces. It cannot unveil the truth behind them. The underlying causes for these forces are as much a mystery today as they have ever been. But we know how to use them. This is what is called knowledge. It is not truth. In this way, we too can acquire knowledge and use it to our advantage, or disadvantage, and this knowledge has every appearance of veritas, of finality, of completeness. And this is where we are content to stop, to end our search for truth, to the extent that it serves us in a functional way, as a means to an end. This version of truth is the end of seeking, a period where one should put a comma, or better yet, a question mark. The moment that you think you know, that you stop asking questions, is the moment that you cease to grow. The most obvious and common experience of this question-answer scenario, of our using knowledge as a utilitarian measure, and the expectation that answers are ends unto themselves, comes from formal education. The teacher and/or textbook present a question. Everyone is expected to get the same answer, the one that the textbook gives, and we move on to the next question. This prescription for education creates intellectual drones, uninquisitive minds, and product-oriented citizens. And we extend this process of Q&A to most every aspect of our life. This process does not inspire creativity, curiosity, and seeking. It bores students to numbness and allows them to stop asking questions the moment it doesn't count for a grade, if they ever started asking questions to begin with. I use this example not to condemn public education as much as to show from where this mentality stems and where its deficiencies are. This utilitarian mindset reveals itself in relationships, jobs, child-rearing, and in our post-formal education approach to intellectualism, curiosity, and creativity, to name but a few. We are so busy fulfilling our function that we seldom have the energy to pursue intellectual stimulation, ask the deeper questions, and create something original and unique. Instead, we have turned that part of our lives over to media entertainment in its many manifestations. Our job answers the question of financial means, and once that question is answered, we allow our minds to vegetate, become sedate, and atrophy. We tend toward consumerism in every aspect of our lives, body, emotions, and mind, allowing other agents to dictate the health and means of these. We limit our degree of productivity to what answers the question of financial means, to what maintains our lifestyle and status, and there it ends. Producers to the extent it pays our bills, consumers the rest of the time, often consuming more than our producing can sustain. In relationships, we tend to be producers early on, when it is critical to our finding and attracting a partner. Once the relationship is secured, we stop asking that question. We stop pursuing the wealth of possibilities, keeping the relationship vital and active, rich, and rewarding. We take each other for granted, think we know the person, or at least know them well enough to cooperate and cohabitate, and move on to other pursuits. This is the point where relationships become stagnant, uninspiring, and uninspired. We become relationship consumers instead of relationship producers. The moment we think we know our partner and our relationship dynamic is the moment the relationship ceases to grow. In our job or financial ventures, we are the most productive at the outset, when proving ourselves, earning credentials, and increasing our income are most pressing. Once our job or career is locked in, we stop asking that question. We stop pursuing our betterment as servants of our industry. We cease to stretch the possibilities of what we might become, regarding earning potential and upward mobility, of pursuing those things which keep our vocation, our calling, vital and thriving, interesting and motivating. We take our job for granted, think we know our job description, or at least know it well enough to stay the course to retirement, and lose the passion for creativity, innovation, and resourcefulness we once had, when these were pivotal in the formative years of our career. We become employment consumers instead of employment producers. The moment we think we know our job is the moment our career possibilities cease to grow. As parents, we are the most productive when our children are young, are high maintenance, and need us nearly every moment of every day with nearly everything in their life. At this stage, we are learning who they are, what drives them, and what talents and attributes they may or may not have. But at some stage, we think we know who they are, so we stop asking that question. I remember the regained sense of freedom I felt at every stage of our children's development. Ambulating, potty training, getting themselves food and beverage, getting themselves prepared for school, dressing themselves, cleaning up after themselves, driving, friending, schooling, dating. Small victories releasing us as parents from a life of constant servitude and supervision. Once our children move through the stages of self-sufficiency, we stop asking these questions, those questions of who they are. We stop redefining our relationship with them, locking it in place, until their growth and evolution forces us to reevaluate this perception we have of them as people, often painfully and with the advent of great stress. We take our children for granted, thinking we know who they are, that they are defined in our mind, or at least know them well enough to give ourselves a sense of peace that we have parenthood all figured out, for a time, and we lose the power of interaction with and curiosity in them that we once had when they were little and changing so fast. We become parental consumers instead of parental producers. The moment we think we know our children is the moment our child-parent relationship ceases to grow. Once we complete our years of formal education, once our final certificate, diploma, or credentials are awarded, we tend to stop asking this question. The question of what lies beyond, what more there is to learn, how much further we can stretch our mind. We stop asking questions at all, at least questions which do not contribute to our ability to provide means to our living situation. We stop seeking the curiosities of the cosmos, stop creating, stop yearning for the unknown. We are the most productive along these lines during the course of our formal education, but even this is presented in a way that is consumer-based, not producer-based. Answer the prescribed questions with the prescribed answers, and we will give you the prescribed credentials, so you can pursue the prescribed life and contribute the prescribed amount to society. Inspiring? No? Yes, no. But this is the route we have chosen as public institutions. It keeps things clean and easy. No messy existential questions to tackle, and no chance of someone coloring outside of the lines. Let's keep those worksheets nice and neat, people. And we get so used to this educational scenario, so comfortable in it, that once an authority figure stops asking us questions, we stop asking ourselves, and the universe, questions as well. We figure we know everything we need to know to function, make some dough, and buy all the things we need to be happy, so-called. We stop looking deeper, stretching our mind, and asking philosophical questions. We take our minds for granted, our knowledge as final, or at least functional, good enough. and the universe and reality as we know it as given, as if it were all figured out. We stop redefining who we are as beings in the cosmos, as citizens of this planet, as members of a community, as brothers and sisters, sons and daughters. We stop gazing at the world with awe and amazement, seeing it for its beauty and mystery, for its infinite potential. We look at it as if we know it, and in this knowing, we stop growing. We become mental consumers instead of mental producers. Knowing has a utility, a function, a place in the material world which allows us to survive, and hopefully thrive. Yet as an evolved species, we shortchange ourselves by ending our sense of wonder at this juncture, of shutting down our mental faculties, of seeking the great truth beyond knowledge, facts, data, and information, of being incurably curious and inspired. Function should serve as a platform from which we launch into the unknown, not as the pinnacle of our achievement. Knowing is death, limitation, restriction, stagnation. The unknown is life, potential, possibility, truth. We are only limited in our personal evolution by this one singular thing, this form of prejudice and ignorance defined as the moment that you know.